here we are. This is Sex Love Psychedelics, and I'm your host, Dr. Kat, bringing you psychosexual conversations that will leave you intellectually turned on and hungry for more.
For those who are, so we're talking about changing lifestyles, getting more sleep, dropping the hustle culture and supporting other people's, dropping the hustle culture too.
Yeah.
What other lifestyle changes can, that have like the most benefit to change?
So, okay. I really love you. I wish we were recording because when you said eat, play, sex, I was like, yes, that is like a mantra for a well-lived life. I think those were the exact words I said. Those things right there. Okay, so how you eat, and it is so impactful. It's something that we are told that it's, we don't. I think it's a very disempowering statement to say like your nutrition doesn't matter. It absolutely matters. We live in such a confusing society, right? We've got like there's every diet out there. There's like, just eat meat, just eat that, restrict this. Really the basics to hormones is nutrient density. So I talk about this in the book, that nutrient density, it's not about, good foods, bad foods. It's about what foods are going to nourish you and communicate to the system that is very fine-tuned with the environment, that the environment is plentiful. So, if you are somebody, I think a lot in the health industry, people are like, you're bad if you seek out a Twinkie. And I'm like, are you? Because you're evolutionarily programmed to seek out the easiest to find, most calorically dense food. And food scientists, knowing this, they made that food in a way that tells your body, good job, you did that, right? Hi, dopamine, you did that. The problem is that it used to be that net nutrient density, and it's not anymore. So you're not bad for seeking those out. It's exactly how you're designed. It's just that some scientists are really smart and they tricked you and they tricked me. Like we've all been like, tricked by that. And so that is where I think people start to get where they're like, I can't trust my body. No, you can. But it needs to go back to basics as much as possible. We do have to recognize food deserts exist. It's very easy for me to say like, eat a nutrient dense diet. And there's people that are like, I've been on food stamps in my lifetime. I grew up in poverty. I was sustained on government cheese for a while. So I'm definitely not judging anybody where they're at. Sure. But I do want to talk about the piece of really focusing on how do we bring in plentiful nutrients. So plants, lots and lots of plants, fruits and vegetables, definitely always winning. Looking at the different protein sources. So if you are a vegetarian, making protein is very, very important. I think sometimes there's people that are like, and they're like, protein's not as important as people make it out to be. I'm like, it is 100% as important as people make it out to be. So I was a vegetarian for 10 years. I'm like, it takes work. You have to be very, very aware of how you're getting your protein. And so making sure that you've got the plants, so those are going to be some of the most, you're going to have your vitamins, minerals, but also antioxidants that are going to protect your cells. And then eating in a way with those plants, you're going to have your fiber. We want to have our fat and we want to have our protein, which is going to help optimize our blood sugar, give your gut what it needs. And all of this really giving your system the nutrient needs to just not only build hormones, but also detoxify those hormones. So your liver, amazing at detoxifying, but it requires specific nutrients, and the standard American diet doesn't really meet that. So we've got the eat component. And then there's the play component. Community can actually help boost those progesterone levels. So when you ovulate, if you are hanging out with people who make you feel good, that you enjoy, that you're giggling with, that can help your progesterone levels stay up. And we want progesterone up in the luteal phase because that's what's going to make PMS not a thing. Help us feel calm, help us sleep at night, help us feel in love with our life. If you ever talk to a pregnant woman who's like, I don't know why, but I just like love everyone. Like, yeah, progesterone. Progesterone's the love. It's not the sex. It's not love. Kind of like oxytocin, but oxytocin is like, I need to be like, we need to be cuddling. I need you to be mine. Like, so there's that play component, doing things you enjoy. So exercise definitely should be enjoyable, not a punishment. for what you ate or who you are, or because like, you know, the new magazine is telling you you're supposed to look like something else. I hate that. I hate that. Okay, Kate Moss, you're amazing. I hate that you are now becoming the standard once again. After going through that in my youth, I'm like, no, just no. Like everybody, like the biggest challenge, right? And the most powerful thing you could probably do for your sexual desire is love yourself fiercely.
Yeah.
And yet it's so difficult. So we're talking about the play piece though. Let me get back on track. So talking about like community, talking about exercise, getting rid of people that don't serve you. And like, that always sounds so harsh, but seriously, like you've only got so many years on this planet. You've only got so many experiences. I also like have a mindset of like, I've only got so many meals. Like I don't like to wait. Like when I'm in the airport, I'm like, I only have so many meals in my lifetime. And no, people, that does not mean I'm like, I have to find a salad. That's like, I want pleasure on my palate. Again, like we need as much pleasure in our life as possible, in my opinion. I think that is another sign of a well-lived life.
Amen.
So we did the eat, play, and then there's the sex component. And something that I would say, so sex is good for your hormones. If it's sex that you're consenting to, that you enjoy, and let me be very clear. I'm sure people in your community get it, but sex does not mean intercourse. That's not what sex, like sex can mean whatever you want it to mean. But it is that component of yourself that I think gets left out of the conversation, that it can transform your hormones. I mean, it can transform your immune system as well. Like it is, you were not given a clitoris by accident and created to be this cyclical creature whose hormones are very fine-tuned with everything in your body, including your immune system, without without you know, the powers that be knowing that pleasure is going to help with your survival. And that pleasure is going to help with basically calibrating your entire body. So that's some of the big areas. The last thing I would say that I think lends well to the sex piece is avoiding endocrine disruptors as much as you can. And these are chemicals in the environment that can disrupt your hormones. And if you're like, how does this play into the sex piece? As you're listening to this, friends, don't put endocrine disruptors in your mucous membranes, i.e. your vagina. You know, these endocrine disruptors, things like phthalates, I mean, flame retardants that can be in some clothes, thankfully less adult clothes, but you know, they're in our bed, they're in our couches. We think about, you know, water bottles, things that we drink out of. They're no joke in terms of how they can cause oxidative stress in the ovaries. So that means free radical production, which can inhibit the hormones from being able to be synthesized in the capacity that we truly need them. It can mess with your egg quality. It can mess with your thyroid. A big reason why we're seeing men's testosterone levels dropping is because of endocrine disruptors, is because of these.
What are
chemicals.
Examples of those?
So as I was saying, the flame retardants, so like BPA, everybody's like, BPA free. The bisphenols are in those plastics still. It's a whole family of troublemakers, if you will. So you know, receipt paper when you touch that. So, you know, whenever I start talking about that, it's a big, heavy piece, right? We've been like life and light and laughy and everything. I do keep it in the book. I try to make it as fun as possible to learn about things that your biology teacher just ruined for you. And, you know, I say, you know, the bisphenols, they're the ultimate cock blocker. Like they really are, because they are going to downregulate testosterone. They're going to make it so you can't use your testosterone. You're going to be inflamed. If you're inflamed, now you have to have more cortisol going on. Like there are all these shifts that happen with these endocrine disruptors that really, it's so disheartening to me that it has taken so long to get to where we are with the science to recognize what's been going on. But I do want to say, because people like, you start hearing this and then you're like, oh my God, it's everywhere. The easiest and the best way to approach endocrine disruptors is look at what you put in your mouth and on your skin and start there, starting in your house, and then recognizing everything outside your house is almost unavoidable. Like receipt paper. Okay, we don't want to touch that. Okay, like you may be able to avoid that, but if you're going to like Costco, they're going to expect to check that or something, you know? So that's where people, I think, can get worked up and start to freak out. Okay, we started with the nervous system, like great place to start, because like that's not good for your nervous system. But instead, if you know two things: one, you're doing the best you can within your own house. And the second thing, that your body is very good at detoxifying, so long as we are not overburdening the system. And that's why taking care of your house, making sure that the home you live in, like the chemicals that you're using, that you're putting on your skin, all these kinds of things, that you are minimizing exposure to endocrine disruptors, your body's going to stand a really good chance just being out in the world, out and about. I mean, everything we do, we're getting exposed to different kinds of chemicals that can affect our hormones, but your body has the capacity to handle it if you're giving it the tools and you're not overburdening it.
Well, that was fun. Thanks for tuning in, lovers. And if you want to experience more ecstasy and sexual liberation, head over to sexlovepsychedelics.com and learn about how you can join me for any one of my online or live events. And while you're there, grab my free guide on sex and psychedelics. Remember, this podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please contact your healthcare provider and local law before pursuing any of the products or psychedelics discussed. And one final note here. I make this show specifically for you. If you're loving the show, then be sure to leave me a review in iTunes or Spotify to let me know. Happy to be here and happy to serve. I'll see you next time on Sex Love Psychedelics.